Hey, before the video starts, I just want to say that I have an Instagram that I'm very active on where I post my little kitty cat and other stuff too. But I do post my cat Ozzy. He is a beauty. So if you want to see pictures of him and other stuff, go follow me on there right now. Or like in 20 seconds. Alright. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the world of Tales from the Trip.
The following story happened yesterday, and I still feel the after effects as I write this. I'm a 17-year-old girl who drinks occasionally, and I used to smoke mersh every few days during the summer before school. Our school does random drug testing, so I decided to stay clean for the sake of graduating. Well, last night, I went over to an old guy friend's house with one of my girlfriends. This guy's friend was sitting on the bed smoking a joint, and he offered us a hit, and my girlfriend declined. But I thought, what the hell? I'm graduating in 3 months. My boyfriend of 2 years just broke up with me, and I'm really stressed out. My friend said it wasn't a good idea, but she let me make one of the biggest mistakes of my life. The guy had told me it was chronic. I've never smoked it before, but my friends have, so I didn't think it would be much different. Right after I took the first hit, I coughed for about 5 minutes straight. It was a nasty cough too, and it hurt my chest. I was offered another hit, but declined because I was coughing, or else I would have gone for it. Everything was going fine afterwards, and I figured it would hit me later, and I would feel as if I was smoking mersh and drinking vodka. Well, probably about 15 minutes later, it hit me. It totally caught me off guard. Everything I saw slowed down, but time sped up. What felt like 5 minutes was really just a minute. I started getting antsy, and I would pick at my sweatshirt and twitch constantly. I tried to be casual about it, and I told them it was strong and asked what was in it. The guy told me that it was laced with PCP. Right then and there, I flipped out and got 10 times more anxious than I was before. They told me it was going to be fine and that it would wear off in 30 minutes. One of the guys gave me food to help me come down off of it, but it was only getting worse. I took the hit at about 11 p.m. and had to be home by 12. So we left around 11:30 and I had to be walked to the car. It was cold outside, but I couldn't feel the temperature. It felt like room temperature. I was doing okay in the car, still seeing things slowly, but I was thinking it was wearing off. I was very wrong. Being in a car only made it worse, and I couldn't feel anything when my friend was driving, so I told her to hold my hand so I know I'm still alive. Never taking hard drugs before, I really thought I was going to die. Sometimes I get really antsy, then other times I would just have a blank stare at the road. All of the moving must have had a weird effect on me because I started shaking violently and I felt myself slipping away from reality. I thought I was having a seizure, so my friend pulled over and it didn't take me too long to calm down. From there on, I closed my eyes and my friend had to squeeze my hand because I couldn't feel myself anymore. When I got home, she walked me to my room because I was very dizzy and it was hard looking at things without getting freaked out. As I was laying down in my bed, I tried to sleep, but couldn't. I was really nervous, and then that's when things got weird. I was once again slipping away from reality, but I didn't feel any part of my body whatsoever. I was having some weird out-of-body experience, and I felt like I was floating above myself, watching myself lay there motionless. This went on for quite a while. I would slip back and forth into reality, and I noticed it was wearing off. Each episode of unconsciousness became shorter, so I tried to enjoy it, but I was still very anxious. I was still tweaking, unable to get any sleep. It finally ended, just like it started, at about 2:30 a.m. It happened very suddenly, and I felt like I fell out of the sky or something. I couldn't get over how disturbing of an experience that was. Today has been weird. I am still twitching, and I sometimes will feel my muscles tense up randomly. My vision is a little off, close to tunnel vision. I also have been yelling at my mom every time I talk to her, and sometimes I will get randomly confused. That is definitely one experience I will never ever relive again. So it all started at this graduation party. We had just graduated, and here I was at the party, where there was plenty of drug dealing going down. We were going to go ahead and head out, so we walked up to this random guy to get some weed. He was all like, "Yeah, I got 2 kinds. I got this swag, very abundant where I'm from," and he also said he had some loaded with PCP. We were getting tired of smoking swag, so we got the white powdered weed in the other bag. Surprisingly, not too awful expensive. So about 2 weeks later, we threw a party on the mountain. We went about 5 miles out on this dirt road up the mountain and made a big campfire. After a little while, I figured it was a good time to try this PCP out. I thought there's no way the cops will show up here. I will get a weed buzz to the extreme and then be fine in the morning. So me and this girl lit up a bowl and got the standard grass cut everyone gets. However, about 5 minutes after the bowl, the shit kicked in. She didn't last too awful long. I was pretty messed up, but I remember seeing her go in the tent to sleep it off. Contrary to what most other reviews said, I was actually pretty coherent with my thoughts. I knew what was going on, but little things would make me laugh till I puked, or piss me off to the extreme. I remember climbing a big-ass tree and falling out, and didn't feel any pain. Right after that, I remember seeing Joe with a couple female friends of mine trying to liquor them up for him and Jack to take advantage of them. Nothing pisses me off more than someone who can't get sex unless they've been drinking. So I went over to Joe and talked some shit and started a fight. I flipped out, going into a rage, and beat him something fierce. The other people there apparently weren't too upset. They knew what Joe was up to and felt it was somewhat justified. Besides, it was something to make the party worth talking about to their friends tomorrow. Joe's best friend Jack didn't think it was too nice though. When I wasn't paying attention, Jack snuck up behind me and sucker punched me in the face. I fell to the ground and I remember being punched in the stomach one more time, and that's the last thing I remember for a while. Next thing I knew, I woke up and was in Jack's car going down the road. He was all like, "Damn dude, you're okay? I thought I'd killed you." He was taking me to the hospital. Anyway, to make a long story short, I was tripping on the PCP thinking I was Superman and started a fight, but then got what was coming for me. I don't think there was much dust in that weed, but yeah, it was PCP, and I'm just telling my story. We buried the rest of the stash and got the hell out of there the next morning. The end. Hey guys, I have to interject after reading that story because it made me pretty mad. If you ever see a woman being forced to drink some alcohol or doing some other drugs to get them like in a loose state or whatever, just so the guy can get in her pants, please beat the fuck out of that guy. Or do whatever you have to do just to make him stop, because that's not okay. This story, I mean, I don't know, these people seem like fucking terrible people. Even the person who beat up the guy originally, like, I was like rooting for him in the beginning, and then he started talking about like how he deserved it, getting punched back. Like, you did not deserve to get punched back, dude. You did the right thing. That Jack friend came and he was like mad that you stopped them from having sex just because you're about to commit rape. That's not okay with me, okay? So just, if you see it happening at a party or wherever you're at, just stop it, okay? Even if they're stronger than you, get some more people, take them down, do whatever you have to do. But seriously, we can't have this shit going on over here or anywhere in the world because it gets on my nerves and it shouldn't happen. Sorry, I just thought I should say that, and then we can go on to the next story. Just a little PSA out there. I wanted to try acid, so a guy sold me some angel dust, 3 grams, because he couldn't get any acid. I had the house to myself that night, so I was going to try a true hallucinogen for the first time by myself. He told me to take it all, it'll fuck you up good. So I ate it all. No one would be home for 7 hours. I remember for about 45 minutes, nothing happened, and it was starting to piss me off. Next thing I know, I moved my arm to get a cigarette, and it had a trace behind it. So I smoke a cigarette, moving my arms thinking this is cool. I start to get a lot higher quick, not hallucinating though, so I go watch TV. I'm staring at the TV when I feel like I'm asleep dreaming, not recognizing what I took. I remember a complete understanding of the universe. I remember walking on the rings of Saturn with a man of great importance. God? Maybe. I didn't think so. Next thing I know, my parents are screaming in my face. They said they've been screaming at the top of their lungs for 2 hours because I've been staring at the TV with a blank stare for 4 hours. Now I've forgotten what I took. There's a light waterfall of sweat pouring off the middle top of my head onto the ground. I look at our cat and it's red. My mom decides to take me to the hospital. On the way, it was raining hard, and the rain would hit the ground on the freeway and put holes in the ground. The clouds were dragons and images of what I thought was Satan. The hospital looked something like a newer episode of The Simpsons, with the color tones and feel of it. They tested my urine and said it had an extreme amount of PCP, enough to label my visit as an overdose. Then the floor fell out under me, and I fell for what seemed like an hour, in pitch black, hearing little kids screaming. I woke up in my bed, at home. I went upstairs, and asked my mom what happened. She said, "What are you talking about?" and walked away. If you're liking these stories so far, please like this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any new upload. And if you don't do those things, I got a gallon of PCP right here, and I'm gonna shove it right up your fucking ass. Back in the day, when I first started smoking weed in 7th grade, I came across an older friend who bought a bag of weed laced with PCP. Now, being back in the 7th grade, I was clueless about pretty much everything with drugs and thought it would be cool and fun to try smoking laced weed. Now, the weed was bluish from the PCP, and we decided to roll a blunt. Once we started smoking the blunt, it tasted terrible, and I couldn't manage to take insane hits from this blunt due to the weed being completely dry. Now, once the blunt was done, I chilled out for a few minutes, not noticing much. Then I decided to stand up to grab something to drink. Then bam, I found myself on the floor, completely blacked out for about 5 minutes. My friend was tripping out on me because I couldn't see, couldn't move, and I couldn't really hear him. All I could do was manage to say, "I've blacked out." After those 5 minutes, I somewhat came back to life, except for that I was so paranoid and had horrible thoughts and felt so sick, both physically and mentally. Then, after about an hour of sitting down, having the worst time of my life, I told my friend to call my sister to pick me up. So he called my sister. She showed up 20 minutes later. Then I tried to stand up and leave, but I couldn't move a thing in my body, except I was able to somewhat talk. So after what seemed to be an hour of trying to stand up, but was only about 5 minutes, my friend grabbed my arm and yanked me out of the couch. Then bam, again, I was on the floor, completely blacked out for the same amount of time. So once I recovered from my blackout, I told him to get my sister to come in and have them both carry me out to the car. So they did that, and once we got home, I could manage to walk again, but I was still having the worst time of my life. So I laid down for about an hour, being sick as hell, then walked to the bathroom and puked. Once I was finished puking, I felt so much better physically, but not mentally. So I just laid in my bed, having a horrible time, until I finally fell asleep. Overall, my suggestion to people would be to never try PCP, but if you're still going to do it, please be careful and have someone in the correct mind to be around you in case something goes wrong. I was in New York City with my friend Steve, looking for some hits of acid. An Oriental girl came up to me and asked me if I wanted any PCP. I figured I wasn't going to get any acid, so I bought a full stogie's worth dipped and swooshed all around in the cheese. Steve and I went back to New Jersey, and I wanted to save that stogie for a good time. I dropped him off and headed to a lame-ass party my friend told me to go to. I maybe stood there for 1 minute and told my buddy to come smoke that dipped stogie, and he said he didn't do that shit. In my mind I was thinking, okay, more for me. So I went to my car, which was the only place I could go to do any sort of drug. I had no idea how many hits of that stogie I was supposed to take, but I ended up locking myself in my own car and smoking the whole thing by myself. All I remember is losing myself in crazy thoughts, thinking I was driving in a parked car. I could hear loud, deep noises from cars that would pass by, and my friends were knocking on my window because I had been chilling in my car, extremely ruined. I looked to my left where they were banging, but I couldn't see them at all. My friend said it took about 20 minutes for me to open the lock on the door. They carried me to the back of the house and laid me on the grass. I knew I was being carried, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know who I was, where I was, what was going on, and what the fuck I just did. My buddy agreed with everyone that he should take my keys and drive me home, even though he didn't have a license. He took me home and carried me to my door, and my parents were flipping out. My dad took me and carried me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I don't really remember what they did, but I remember when I went home the next day. A week later, someone told me that you're only supposed to hit it around 4 to 8 times, and I just smoked the whole thing. Good thing it wasn't Camel 100s, or I would have been dead. Tell me what you guys thought of these stories. I thought they were pretty interesting, and I wanted to share them with all of you. Before we head out of here, I want to play you something that always reminds me of PCP. I don't want to get copyright though, so I'm not going to play a very long clip, but this shit always cracks me up.
Thank you. What do you got there? This is a gallon of PCP.
Wow! A gallon?
Yes. Yeah.
That's illegal, right?
Yeah, it's a felony.
It's a felony.
Yes.
Wow. And here you are with it anyway. That is, wow. I didn't even know it came in liquid form.
Science.
Whoa,